So the beginning of the chapter, we just get reacquainted with like the directions where things are going. Like, okay, so here's Kinemon's group, and here is Denjiro's group, and here's a law. Like what they said in the previous chapter, they're pretty much doing what they said they were going to do. It's just kind of reacquainting us with like these groups. Like here's where these individuals are going to be for, I guess, a majority of the upcoming arc. And then we're going to go into the Straw Hats too. But first, I just want to touch on Kanjuro and Momonosuke. So this is a little interesting thing. We're seeing that this is the first time Kanjuro has been to Onigashima, so he doesn't really know what's, the directions and everything. So he's kind of stuck. This is the explanation as to why he hasn't immediately gone to Orochi yet. But another little interesting development is that we see that I guess the Beast Pirates aren't privy to the information that Kanjuro is the traitor, so he has to like straight up kill them. Because he's like, I'm still an enemy in their eyes. I must at any cost report to Sir Orochi. And then we see like dead, I guess, gifters or just regular beast pirate dudes behind him. So I think this might be showing us that maybe this is how Kanjuro gets his just desserts. Maybe he gets himself into a predicament where like he can't maybe like convince the beast pirates that he's a part of them. Like maybe he gets surrounded by them or headliners or somebody from the beast pirates just straight up take out Kanjuro. I think that would be pretty cool. And it would also take the blood off the hands of any main characters that would have to take him out. Like Kinemon, who almost basically did a couple chapters back when he like cut his head off of the clone. So if the Beast Pirate's taken out, no harm, no foul. And also it's a great ending for such an awful character that you love to hate. And then we see Momo looking at one of the knives that one of the Beast Pirates have. So I assume he's going to pick that up eventually, get himself free of the rope that he's trapped in. And then there's going to be a whole little debacle where he's like running away. Kanjuro's trying to get him. And that might lead to Kanjuro's demise. We'll see what happens with this little storyline. But then like I was saying, in the beginning of the chapter, it's kind of just showing us who's going to be where, what groups are going to be together during this battle. And now we're seeing what the Straw Hats are going to be doing. And I think that's just what the sequence is establishing, because that always kind of happens in these arcs, like the Straw Hats don't stick together, of course. I mean, rarely they do, but they always usually break up into little distinct units. And, I give Oda the credit. He always tries to make it a little different. It's nice when he splits them up. And now that we have Jinbei here, we're going to be seeing Jinbei and Robin together for this arc, which is cool because also, I'm pretty sure Robin's saying that like, oh, such mature words, what a relief. That is like Robin's dynamic in the crew. She is like the most mature member, I suppose, despite not being the oldest. Like Frankie is second oldest, and then I guess Brooke would be the oldest. And Frankie was always kind of like the mature one, kind of, for Robin to have somebody to talk to. Like if you go back to Thriller Bark, that was like their little dynamic there, because while Frankie is mature, it's super immature at the same time. But Jinbei, not so much. He's kind of just like a straight man through and through, which is perfect for Robin. They both kind of have their little dynamic here, so that's cool. And then we see in the tank, it's going to be Shinobu, Carrot, Nami, Chopper, and Usopp. So they're going to be together. That's fun. Sanji seems like he's going to be by himself, I guess. That's interesting. And then it's going to be Frankie and Brooke. And then we found out that Luffy ran ahead like after Kid, because he's kind of like subtly jealous of Kid, like for stealing his thunder, I guess, in his own way, because Kid's doing exactly what Luffy always does. He just disregards the plan, runs in, face first, and just throws caution to the wind and just does whatever he wants. That's exactly what Kid's doing here. And Luffy's always, been developing this rivalry with Kid to the point of where he's getting like an emotional response out of him. And we're seeing it more than ever right here. And Luffy even being like hypocritical, which is hilarious because you really know that Kid's getting to him at this point, because it's like, they don't even know Kinemon's plan, like Luffy of all people saying that. It's hilarious. I love this dynamic. It's very fresh. I was talking about that in the previous reviews, the heated rivalry between Luffy and Kid here. And then we find out that Zoro went after him. Awesome. And, he's like, I'll make sure he goes discreetly, but we all know that he's going to get lost. That's what Zoro does. They even pointed out in the chapter. Hilarious. So that's also showing where the rest of the Straw Hats are going to be. Luffy and Zoro are going to be by themselves, meaning that Zoro is probably going to wind up somewhere that he shouldn't be, of course. I don't know. For some reason, I feel like Zoro is just going to somehow wind up like right in the middle of Onigashima, like right in front of Kaido and everybody, and then he's just going to be nonchalant about it. I don't know. Something like that's going to, or maybe that's going to happen for Luffy. So then we're coming back to the Flying Six, who we were officially introduced to in the previous chapter, and I'm still digging these guys. I think they're a great addition to the story. All have great designs. Ulti is probably my favorite, talking about her in the previous chapter. She's just aesthetically appealing. I like her design, you know, for more ways than one. She has a very interesting, quirky personality, and I'm digging it. So good job, Oda. And we get to see more of her personality in this chapter. The way that she interacts with Kaido, she's kind of like standing him, but at the same time negging him in a way. I think we've all kind of met those girls in our lives at one point or another. But I digress. So the main thing that's happening in this sequence, or at least what I'm taking away here, is that there's kind of like a power struggle amongst the Flying Six and the All-Stars, or at least some of them, because it seems like, at least specifically, Who's Who, the guy with the mask and the horns, and then Sasaki, the guy with like the captain's hat and the spiky teeth, kind of looks like he'd be like one of Moria's race or something, or just whatever kind of human that Moria is. They kind of want to be all-stars themselves, because we found out that the Flying Six are made up of ex-pirate captains. Now, King says you're a group made up of ex-pirate captains. So does that mean all of the Flying Six are? Maybe, maybe not, but we definitely know that obviously X-Drake was, and I guess Who's Who and Sasaki are for sure. And that brings us to the ever-developing Kaido's son, so the stipulation for who can challenge the All-Stars is up to whoever can bring back his son successfully. So we're finding out that his son's name is Yamato, and apparently, I don't know, he's young, I guess. They call him the Young Master Yamato, but we've already heard another character being called the Young Master, Daffy, and he was like 40 years old. So I don't know. In any other series, I'd assume that the Young Master probably means he's like 16 or something. But for all we know, he could be like 30. You know, Kaido's probably similar in age to Big Mom. So he probably could even be 40 for all we know. But I'm going to assume that he's probably on the younger side here. But then Black Maria says that, like bringing him back is quite the difficult task. So what does that mean? Not sure. Does that mean like he's super powerful and that he doesn't care about authority or what Kaido wants, and he'll like fight them to try to resist coming back or something possibly? Maybe. Really unclear at this point, but I'm going to assume that, he's Kaido's son, so he's probably super powerful just inherently. Regardless if they actually do get Yamato or not, which I'll get into with what I think Luffy's going to possibly do, it seems like a fight has been set up nonetheless between King, Jack, Sasaki, and Who's Who. That's what it seems like is going here. I mean, maybe Oda is just doing this for like a red herring possibly, but it really does seem like these guys are probably going to fight based off of like the development here. Why are they going to fight? I assume because there's going to be jobbings here. So I assume that one of them is going to job to King, because King hasn't really done anything outside of like tipping the Big Mom pirate ship in his pterodactyl form. Very impressive, but we still haven't really seen him like go against somebody like in an actual fight. So that's probably going to be serving that purpose here. Because, like Oda does sometimes just send villains into battle, but King is the right-hand man of Kaido after all. So we're going to need, I guess, some development on his power before he goes against who I assume, or at least I hope, Zoro. So now we know, like, oh my god, Zoro's going against somebody that's this powerful. Like, I assume that the difference between the Flying Six and the All-Stars is probably like the difference between Big Mom and Queen. I mean, maybe it's not that outrageous of a gap, but I assume it's got to be something similar to that. Like, basically, the Flying Six aren't really going to be too competitive with the All-Stars. But, I mean, like, compared to everyone else, they're pretty darn powerful. Just the way that, like, Queen is super powerful compared to everyone else, except, people on the level of Big Mom. So maybe it's going to be something like that. And maybe Jack gets some kind of redemption too, because Jack has been taking so many L's in this series. So maybe Oda's going to be like, you know what? He does get L's, but he still is one of the strongest. And proving that could be him taking out Who's Who or Sasaki or something like that. So then we come to the end of the chapter with Luffy's little segment where like he infiltrates the Beast Pirates, still looking for Kid. And then he randomly gets hit in the head with like a pot of red bean soup, and it reminds him of Tama and, you know, the poverty that the people of Wano come from and how they're ruled by Kaido and everything. What's the point of this? I guess it's just to be like, hey, guys, remember Tama? Remember her from the beginning of this arc? She's still a thing. Luffy still has motivation because of her and because of all of the people. So maybe that's what this is. It's just reminding us that Luffy does have, you know, multiple levels of motivation going into this battle here. So it's kind of just not like, oh, we're just having fun trying to take down Kaido. He is, you know, emotionally attached to these people and he does want to help them. But then also, like I was saying, that this could lead to Luffy maybe being involved with Yamato himself. Like maybe he finds Kaido's son and then that leads to a further development in this arc possibly. I could see that happening, and or maybe even Zoro finds Yamato possibly. But let me know what you think is going to happen in the comments. What do you think about this chapter in general? If you like the review, guys, please give it a like. I also have a Patreon. It gives you access to a weekly Q&A, and if you haven't already, please subscribe as well. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.